Welcome to Front Porch Lawyer, where we address the humanity of lawyering. Many attorneys are winning battles in the courtroom, but losing battles in their lives. From interpersonal relationships to stress management, Front Porch Lawyer explores topics that improve your practice, your lifestyle, and even your love life. Leave feeling a little more inspired with a smile on your face. Here's your host, Francine Tone.
Hi, I'm Francine Tone, and welcome to my Front Porch. This series began because of COVID-19, and we are still home sheltering. Now, episodes 104 and 105 were intended to be a two-part series, but when I finished part 2, I realized I needed to do this one, part 3. We're still talking about chronic stress in the lawyer's life, and today I'm going to talk to you about 2 strategies that you can use in your law practice that are designed to eliminate or reduce stress in your life and in your practice. The first thing is clearing out headaches in your case list. Now, have you ever had or taken a case that you wish you hadn't? Who hasn't done that? The file sits on the corner of your credenza or your desk, and you walk by it every day and you go, oh my God, I've got to get to this case, but you don't. And pretty soon as you walk by, you avert your eyes and pretend like it's not even there. The case doesn't get the attention that it needs, and your stress just keeps growing by the day. And of course, this means that the cortisol leak continues every single day. And if you do finally get to it because you've procrastinated long enough and now you have to, you're miserable while you're working on this case. This daily misery will also continue to keep the cortisol tap leaking. This is not a good way to live, and it's certainly no way to practice law. So there's 2 parts to clearing your case list. One is first identifying what to get rid of, and 2, how do you go about doing it? First is what to get rid of, and you may have heard about this before. You make a list of your case list and rank them in order of preference. So at the top of the list, you put your favorite case. And then at the bottom of the list, you put your least favorite, the one that you'd like to get rid of, the headache. Now you start from the bottom and you work your way up. Now for the how. How do you go about getting rid of this case? And as attorneys, we know we can't just call the client and say, I quit. We don't have that option. So the how depends on when you took the case. So let's say you just took the case, yesterday even, and you've instantly regretted it. Because you know within 5 minutes before you even take the case, you shouldn't take the case, but somehow, for some reason, you did. Well, if that's the case, you deal with it immediately before you even spend a week fretting over it and allowing that cortisol to stream through your system for even a week. You call the client and explain that you erred taking the case. And just be honest with the client. You don't have time for this. And really, that is the truth. Because you don't have time to fret over a case that you don't want to work on. So you don't have time for the case. You return every cent the client gave you. And you help the client find a lawyer. And you give up some free time to help with this transition. Returning unearned money and giving up some free time is worth the savings of stress down the road. Now, if on the other hand, you've had this case for a while and you can't just refer the case out to a new lawyer, then you have to make it your number 1 priority every day until it's done. Now, you need some motivation, and what you need is internal motivation. This happened to me, and when I was using external motivators, I was not getting motivated. An external motivator would be like, if I don't work on this case, someone's going to file a complaint. Well, that's an external motivation, and that was no help for me. I told myself, if I work on this case, I'll get paid. External motivation, no help. So I had to find that internal motivation. And when I was looking at the case list, and I made the list, I'm looking at that and going, how can I create some motivation to make me really want to work on this case? And I imagined a line across that case at the bottom of the list, and went, wow, if there was a line across that case, meaning it was gone, imagine what that would feel like. That became my internal motivator. Turns out that in fact, psychologically, internal motivation is what we need to actually take action on a task, especially a task that we already don't want to do. So imagine how it would feel to have you look at your list and see a line through the case that you dread. It would feel pretty good. So that becomes your internal motivator. So use that. So armed with this motivation, every day, this is the first case that you work on. the first thing you do in the morning. You do this before you check email, before you do anything, and you let your staff know of your plan. Basically, you tell your staff, I'm going to come in and work on case X first thing in the morning because I have got to get this done, and do not disturb me until I walk out of the office. That means they hold their phone calls, they don't call you, they hold off the emergencies because most of them aren't emergencies anyway. They're just urgent but not important. You get your coffee and go into your office, close the door, and get to work on the case. Now, when you open that file, this is a question you ask yourself. What can I do right now to move this case forward toward resolution? Resolution could be trial, arbitration, or settlement, but resolution nonetheless. Some refer to this as eating the frog. If you ate a frog first thing in the morning, everything else you had to do during the day would seem easy. But more importantly, when you eat this frog first thing in the morning, that's when you're the most rested, the most alert, and cognitively the most capable to doing something important. And so by doing this, by eating the frog first, in the morning, you'll get through this and expeditiously resolve this case faster than if you dealt with this at 4 in the afternoon. So the second strategy is the preemptive strike. Imagine a situation in which you've told the client that you would have a document ready by Friday. And now it's Wednesday, and you've been putting out fires all week long, and you realize on Wednesday that there's no way you can get this document done by Friday. What I've seen many lawyers do is plod along the week, and when the client calls on Friday afternoon looking for the document, they avoid the client. They tell the staff, take a message, and then you don't return the call. By then, the client is probably already a little irritated because she's calling you for something you promised. Then the weekend goes by, and the client calls again on Monday, a little more irritated. A new message is taken, and the attorney avoids the call. Now it snowballs. The preemptive strike avoids this scenario completely. Back on Wednesday, this is how it works. Back on Wednesday, when you know you can't get this done by Friday, you call the client and you explain to the client what's been going on. Now, the client wasn't expecting to hear from you on Wednesday. There's nothing for the client to be upset about. So this, of course, assumes that there's no negative consequence for this delay. So you tell the client that you've been putting out fires all week and you're behind schedule and you can't get the document done by Friday. And of course, assure the client there's no prejudice because you had to do this delay. It's very likely the client won't bat an eye. When I had to do this, my clients didn't bat an eye. Instead, she'll thank you for your courtesy and your honesty and think how refreshing. I know this works because when I've done it, this is my client's reaction. Now, you've promised to get the document. Let's say now that you're going to say is, I can't get it done by Friday, but I can get it done by next Wednesday. And then you get it done by Tuesday, a day early, and call the client a day early and say, it's done. Would you like to come in and look at it? Several things happen when you use the preemptive strike. You avoid the situation that makes it uncomfortable for you, that throws you into stress and keeps the cortisol tap leaking. That's why we're doing this and why we're talking about this in this video. You get to be forthright with your client, no excuses, which is so much easier than all the other alternatives. The trust you built with your client is preserved. The client doesn't get upset and doesn't question your professionalism. So there you have it, 2 simple strategies that you can employ to reduce and eliminate stressors in your law practice. Now, as always, comment below or send me an email with feedbacks and questions. And of course, if you have thoughts on topics you want covered on Front Porch Lawyer, send those to me as well. Now, I'm planning for a few short burst videos coming up in the next few days that will elevate the humanity of lawyering. So be sure to follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, and so that you don't miss any of the episodes. So thank you for joining me on my Front Porch. This is Francine Tone and Front Porch Lawyer, and I'll see you next time.